I'm Michelle.
And I'm Katherine.
And we're here at the Healthy Hurried Human podcast,
where we talk about keeping pace in a world that never slows down.
So welcome back to the Healthy Hurried Human podcast. And today we have somebody that I am so excited to have on. And he gets to have the trophy of being our first guest on the Healthy Hurried Human. And I wanted it to be this way because of who he is to me and how much he means to me. And in preparing for this, Lawrence, I was giving her just story after story after story. And there's just so many because today we have Lawrence Carnuccio on, and he is the king of entrepreneurs in my mind and always will be. And the thing, his tagline when I tell people about Lawrence Carnuccio, you need to know him. He's amazing. He's an entrepreneur, and everything he touches turns to gold. That has literally been my tagline for you. I mean, probably for the last 20 or so years. Lawrence has known me. I'm going to give my part away. You can give your part away if you want to, Lawrence. But Lawrence has known me since I was 18 years old. And we started out doing an inner city work volunteer together. And he was leading that. And he would drive around in his fancy car. And we would work with these inner city teens. And Lawrence, I'd never been around a real live Italian because I grew up here in the South and didn't see many of those. And just the energy and the enthusiasm and his loud booming voice, he'd just break out into something. And it was very fascinating to me to just be around Lawrence. And those are some of our earliest memories. But I was sharing with Katherine about you, Lawrence, that your heart for volunteering and jumping in and finding ways to, you've always had this knack for business and entrepreneurship, but also service and serving and volunteering. And you've found a way to intersect those so well in a way that I don't think many entrepreneurs or volunteer people know how to intersect those two. And so that's something that I've always really admired about you. Lawrence currently is the CEO of East Coast Sales. Lawrence, I'm going to let you share a little bit more about you. And I know that East Coast Sales is not the only thing you're doing. You always have about 8 or 9 plates spinning. So just tell Katherine a little bit more and the people who listen.
Yeah, so first of all, Katherine and Michelle, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I feel really honored to do it. Michelle, it's been an awesome journey with you through the years. Michelle is really like a little sister to me. And, you know, we just have done a lot of life together, a lot of laughing, a lot of crying. Michelle's been a big part of my life as far as...
We've done some arguing too.
Oh, a lot of arguing. And really, Michelle was pretty influential in my relationship with my wife, Amy.
Oh, really?
And I know she was always, you know, trying to encourage us to move forward in that relationship, and then we got married. So Michelle, it's been just an amazing journey. I love you, and it's been really fun to be with you. So that being said, so the company that I currently have is I basically have 3 different companies. One is East Coast Sales. That's our bread and butter. What we do is we make contracts with manufacturers that manufacture construction equipment, and we basically become their sales arm and marketing arm for their company. So instead of hiring a sales rep for a given territory, an area, which our area is mostly from Maine to Virginia, they hire my company, and then we release our salespeople into the marketplace to sell the construction equipment. Why that's an effective model is we have the relationships in the marketplace. So if you came to me with a product, within a couple of days, I can get your product in front of the right people in that marketplace if it has something to do with construction equipment. That's what we do. The second part of that was we started an import business where we import work gloves. It kind of goes into the same channel that we work in. And then the third piece is we've gotten into some rental property real estate. So that's Amy and I work on that together. So they're the three pieces. And then we're also, a volunteer to regional director for an organization called Mark Men for Christ, which is all about empowering men to become the best version of themselves. So that's what we do. And I feel I've been spoiled. I enjoy what I do. I have a great life, and I'm thankful for the experiences that I've been able to have. So,
Can I
Yeah,
ask
go
a
ahead.
question? So, I'm fascinated by this because you said from Maine to Virginia.
yes,
Does your do your salespeople all live in the same area and just have these territories, or are your salespeople spread out?
they're spread out throughout the territory.
So, how do you build culture and community and leadership development with a workforce that's not all in working out of the same building?
Yeah, that's a great. There's different elements that I would say. One, I'll go over the main elements that I think are important to build a good team within an organization, and we could go back to any of those pieces. One is just empowering your people to go out and be who you've hired them to be. Not micromanaging, but empower them in that particular area of responsibility, and trusting that they're going to do what they're hired to do. The second part is partnership. Even though I might own the company, it's really when somebody works for your company, you're really partnering with them. They have ownership to a certain degree, because if they're not bought into the company, if they're not bought into the vision of the company, then they're not going to give their very best. But if they feel ownership and this is part of their business, and the more successful we are as a company, the more successful they will be, is important. Giving proper training to sales training to our salespeople, and then people working within the office. Casting vision. You have to know what the vision is, why we're doing what we're doing, where we're headed as a company is important, and then know what your mission is. What's our mission? Mission is pretty simple. It's providing sales service and giving care to people and caring for people. Those two integrate. You could be out trying to sell a product, but really what we're trying to do is sell a service and give people, provide something for people that they need in order to grow their business. Whenever I sit with a customer, it's all about, hey, what can we do to help you grow your business? And if we can't help you, then I understand, and then we have probably nothing to sell you. But if I have some things that I can help you with, and it might be some of the products that we represent, then great, let's partner together and make some money. So I don't know, I gave a couple different pieces there, but
I was telling Katherine when I was giving her some of your background, you have had such an entrepreneurial leadership business mindset and trajectory, I think pretty much your whole life. I think you grew up under that. Your parents being a bit of entrepreneurs. And I'm going to give you a softball. It's not on paper. I've heard you for, but what have you seen? Because I was telling Katherine how you came out of college, owned a business, sold it, then went to grad school, because you were in grad school when I was in college. And so how have you seen just your mindset around leadership and growth change and evolve over your years of experience, even from owning that first beverage company to owning East Coast Sales? How do you think you have grown in how you view leadership and growing? Sorry, I know you're like, give me a minute.
Yeah, I mean,
Summarize
for me,
Michelle's question.
Yeah, go ahead, summarize it, and then I think I know what you're saying, but go ahead. if you want to
From
summarize
from
it.
your first business to now, what has the arc been like of your development as a leader
As a leader.
and a developer of employees?
Yeah, I think, listen, when you're first starting out, even though I have vision to want to, have an impact on people's lives, when you're first starting out and even raising a family, I think there's more of you're in a survival mode. So you're just pushing ahead to possibly just get the sale, develop the business, and sometimes not being as sensitive to the people that are working with you or working for you, because you're trying to reach that goal. As I've gotten older, reaching the business goals is probably become, it's still important, but less important, and the development of the people that might be in the organization or people that we're actually selling to have become more important, and therefore it kind of changes kind of how we approach our sales or our marketplace, basically. I don't know if that
I would
answers
agree
your
with
question.
that. No, it does answer, because I've been able to witness your journey, and I would say that's exactly it. Because Lawrence, you're getting all soft and gooey in your older age, where
Yeah.
I've seen him go from, you're still a highly driven person, individual, but I've seen his the drive for the business end has kind of switched for the drive towards the people end. From your earlier years to now, I've seen that. So I would have to
And there,
say I concur with his assessment of himself.
yeah. Yeah, I think there's a reason for that too. Like I said, when you're trying to provide for your family,
Yeah.
it it becomes more, you're driven, and you might be a little bit less sensitive. I think I'm in a place, I'm 61 years old now, and I'm in a place where really I'm sitting on resources, I'm sitting on experiences, and now I'm kind of in a pivotal point in my life, and it's really about, like, the question that I'm asking myself right now is, are you working to put more money in the bank, or are you working to leave a legacy? And the legacy doesn't have to have my name on it, but really it's more about what am I leaving behind now. And as I move forward, that's what motivates me.
Would you say,
Yeah.
Lawrence, sorry, because this is leading into this thing that I was telling Catherine about, that you said recently that has kind of got me fired up, which you said to me not long ago, that I'm turning 61, or I'm 60, and I don't plan to take my foot off the gas. I'm going to accelerate. And
Yeah.
you said, because I see people in my same age group that want to take their foot off the pedal and they want to coast. And you said, and this is this is very much you, but I was so impressed, and it kind of swirls in my head when you said, I want to accelerate. What fuels that energy, and how do you want to stay connected to this overarching driving that you have in your life as you
Yeah.
accelerate?
Yeah, so let me just talk into that a little bit. There's a thing in Western society called retirement. And I say Western because I don't think it really exists in other places around the world. This idea of working till you're 65 and then you just stop working and play golf for the rest of your life, I think could be, just one of the biggest lies that we buy into. There's this phenomenon that takes place with people that when they retire from their job, there's about 15 to 20% of people actually die shortly after they retire. And I've always wondered why. Like, why is that? Why do people die right after they retire from their job? And part of the reason, I work out with a cardiologist, and I asked him that question, and he said the reason is people stop using their brain. When you're engaged in purpose and you're working on something, you're using your brain, and therefore your brain keeps the rest of your body functioning. When you stop using your brain, what happens is there's an atrophy that takes place, and your body starts to break down and shut down as well. So let me just say this. So I think it's a big lie that we buy into. I'm not saying that you should, you should stop. What am I saying? I don't think you should. You might not go at the same pace that you've been going on, but you can accomplish more as a retired person or a person into the retired years, like let's say 60 and up. For example, if you give me a task in business, I could probably accomplish that task in 3 months, where when I was 35 years old, it might take me 5 years. You might, wow, you can condense 5 years of work into 3 months? Yes. And why is that? Because I sit on resources. That could be financial. I sit on experiences. I sit on the experiences tell me where to spend time, where not to spend time, and therefore I can accomplish a lot more as a older person than I was when I was younger. So that being said, Michelle, there's accountability there.
Mm-hmm.
I've been given resources. There's accountability, and if you're a religious person, there's a chapter in Matthew, chapter 25 in Matthew, where this guy goes on a long journey, and he calls 3 of his servants. He gives 2 of his servants. He gives one servant 5 bags of gold, another servant 2, and another one 1. And the first 2 servants went and they multiplied what they were given. The last guy that was given 1 bag, he buried his talent. He buried what was given to him. And so I think there's great accountability to what we do. And, if you've been given a lot, really there's a lot, there's a lot to be expected of you. And I think that keeps you alive and vibrant in what you do. I don't know. And then continually learning, even though I might be older, I always want to continue to learn. I don't know if that answers some of your questions. Sorry.
I
went
hit on
off.
something Katherine loves to talk about, which is lifelong learner, and you are definitely one of those. I can attest to that.
It is definitely the people that I wanted to hire were problem solvers. I used, in my previous job, I was working in a construction environment internal recruiter, and I was looking for problem solvers and lifelong learners because of what you said. They're problem solvers have to think outside the box, and they're continuing to assess new information, and you have to be kind of comfortable in that. And having experience like what you shared is like you get a little relaxed because you've solved problems before.
Yeah.
You've been here. I've been up against the wall with a time deadline. You've been up against the wall with limited resources, or you've experienced downturns in the economy or lack of what is the word? Supply chain issues. And
Yeah.
so it's a little more relaxed because you figured out a way in the past. I can figure out something in the future. We had kind of off script sent you an ask earlier this week about your purpose. Like, do you have like a purpose statement or a personal missional statement?
Yeah.
And I was wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing that, because you've got a lot of motivation and internal drive. So
right.
I'd love if you don't mind sharing that.
Yeah, so this, depending on which circles I'm in, it might sound a little bit different. But basically, as a man, I co-create a world with purpose, grace, and connection, unity. And I do this by speaking the truth, forgiving others, and engaging in leadership as I have opportunity. And so what I want to do in life, my overall mission in life, is to unite people together and help people become a better version of themselves. That's what motivates me. So I can take that personal mission and kind of bring all my decision making through that. Mm-hmm. And I say, does that help me accomplish what I think I'm supposed to be doing?
Mm-hmm. That's great. When I first started working with Foxygen, when we were and Michelle was presenting this wheel, the wheel that was one of the ones was purpose driven, and I said, I don't know that I know what my purpose is. And she's, great. She's like, okay, well, and like she won't tell you, right? She makes you figure it out. But that's the type of thing where I said, this is very valuable if you haven't asked yourself this, because you're using it as a filter for where do I put my time, but also how do I show up? Because if truly it is one of your goals is to develop others, then you've already kind of mentioned that before. Could you tell us some ways and opportunities that you have to fulfill your personal mission with the companies that you're working with now?
Yeah, I mean, well, let me just tell you some of the when we talk about a purpose, you have to know your why. And I think I like to challenge people that are working with me. Why do you do what you do? Why are you awake? Why do you have life in your body today? And you have to know your purpose. What is your purpose, your overall purpose? And so I help people, challenge people to know that. Where are your gifts? We're all made different. And understanding your giftedness and your personality, I think being aware of that so you don't try to force yourself into something that you're not is really important. I think as you engage in business or anything else, you have to have fun and you have to enjoy what you do. I think if you have fun and you enjoy what you do, the money follows. The money follows. So if you're trying to do something to earn a living, oftentimes if you like what you do, you're going to do really well with it, and somehow that'll generate into some type of financial reward.
We should be watching our bank account because I have a lot of fun doing this.
Yeah, there you go. And so let's watch it grow. And then yeah, that's it. So I don't know if I answered your question on that.
You are, Lawrence. You're doing great, and
You did.
with Foxygen,
Okay.
with the things that we're doing. And last season, we were kind of trying to lay this foundation for the Healthy Hurried Human, and this component product that I created called the Healthy Hurried, or I'm sorry, the wheel, which is the key functional indicators for knowing whether we're doing okay. And I like to refer to the work that we do at Foxygen as emotional and relational and mental organization and people strategist. Like, we create these strategies for how to be well emotionally, mentally, and relationally in the workplace. And when you think about your industry, you're in the industrial business, how do you see, I know that you value it, but I wouldn't say as an industry, if we're going to, we're going to generalize it, emotional relational intelligence aren't necessarily linked to, we're not looking at the industrial industry as being, high on that. But I know that you are. How do you feel like those things have influenced your success, and how do you bring that into the people that you're working with and who work for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. Again, I think we might have hit on a little bit of that earlier, but I mean, if people know whether you really care about them or not. And I think within the organization, as you're working with people, if they know and they feel loved and valued by whoever they're working for, they'll give you everything. And if they have ownership,
Yeah, we say that.
If somebody has ownership in something, it changes everything. It's like, oh yeah, I'm not working for Lawrence, but I have ownership in this. I'm really working for myself, so they have ownership.
Yeah, we find that. So Katherine has a big background, and we like to work with ESOPs, employee-owned companies.
Yeah.
And I think there's a difference in those companies because of exactly what you just said. It's not they're just going to work for some guy or for some unseen thing behind the curtain. They're going in for their own stock. I mean, I've heard you say it, like, I'm building into my own stock options here. I'm part of this
Right.
company, and the success of this company, I bear some of that weight to it. So
Yeah.
I think you definitely hit on that.
Yeah,
Um,
Michelle, there's also a piece of it too, building culture within your
mhm.
organization. If you have really good culture, people you want people to enjoy going to work. On Monday, you don't want people regretting. We always hear, it's Monday, I got to go to work, or Sunday's miserable because
The Sunday
tomorrow
blues,
you have to
yeah.
go to work. Right. So why not be excited about Monday? And if how do you do that? Well, you got to build that culture. People going to work. It's going to work. If you ask me, and I work a lot. If you ask me, do you work? I'm like, I do, but honestly, it doesn't feel like work because I really enjoy what I do. So if you enjoy what you do and enjoy the people that you're with, it's not work.
He
It
has
is
truly
work,
been
but
that way the whole time like my whole life knowing him. He has truly been that way. It never, Lawrence, you give this persona, and you've done all kinds of things, so you enjoy a lot of stuff, but you tend to go towards things that you like. I was telling her about when you started selling, this is way before anybody was doing this, those the scooter bikes in New York City.
yeah,
Way
yeah,
before that, you just have always had this way of going into things that you really enjoy. But Lawrence really gives off this persona that he's never really working a whole lot because he's enjoying whatever he's doing, but you are
right,
working.
So I have a
right.
question. Have you ever been in a position in a job where you didn't feel fulfilled or you felt stuck, or what did you do?
Um, yes, I've felt that way, and I won't go into the specifics of it because I don't know who's going to hear this podcast,
That's
but
okay.
but yeah, I felt that way, and the reason I felt that way is because I felt like I was put into a box
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
and said, okay, you have to stay within this box,
hmm
and that's just not how I'm designed. I mean, I'll work really hard, and I'll work within that box, but then my natural, my giftedness is thinking outside the box and how can we make this better, and what are some other things that can happen. So in the past, if I've worked for a company and they put me in a box and say you can't go outside the box, that kills me. Then I become bored, disconnected, and it's just putting my time in,
Would you say that
and
that's
it's
probably
really death.
why
I'm sorry. It's really what?
It
death?
becomes death for me. Yeah.
Yeah, it kills his spirit.
So what did you do that like
She's shushing me.
you know all the answers. The rest of us don't. So what did you do?
What did
You
I do? I
realized you
changed. I found. I looked for something where I can exercise what my purpose is, what my vision is for my life, and a place where I can dream. So I had to make a change, a career change.
I think that's an important, like, people need to know what the warning signs are, right? Like, okay, so like you said, you're bored. That's you began to become disconnected so that you couldn't dream. Like, you couldn't dream beyond that. And these are the warning signs that people need to realize, hey, this isn't aligning with my personal vision. This isn't a good job, a healthy job should instill in me a desire to continue to wake up, to be feel alive in it. And for those people who, like, because Michelle, your biggest fan, um, all she talks about is all these successful businesses that you have had, or entrepreneurial, momentary situations that you were able to do this and this and this and this. Maybe not long-term projects, but you were always coming up with. You saw a need and you figured out a way to fix the need, like the scooters in New York. Hey, here, this would help. This would make people's lives better, which are the
Yeah.
tenets that you have, is how can I improve the quality of life for people around me, or acknowledge and be seen in what they're doing. So that's a great part of your purpose. But for those people who are listening and like, oh, this guy's got all these ideas. Like, I'm not that guy. But I think it's important for them to hear that even someone like you can get stuck. And what is
Yeah.
that advice for
Yeah.
when do you recognize and how to get out of there?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. I love that question. I would say a couple things. One is sometimes there's times in our life where we just have to stop and be still. Just stop. Take some time. It could be a week, it might be a weekend, it might be a month where you just stop and you just really put all your things on the side and just be still and begin to ask yourself some tough questions like why are you doing what you're doing? What are your goals? I think it's important to know what your goals are. I always encourage people have 1 year goals, 5 year goals, 10-year goals. And by the way, those goals change. As I change, my goals change. And it's okay to cross certain things off that were important to me 5 years ago, and now there's a whole new set of goals. But knowing your 1 year goal, 5 year goal, 10-year goal, it's really interesting. I think there's the subconscious is always at work. And when you set things on paper and you say, okay, I want to accomplish these 20 things this year,
The RAS system.
it's really remarkable. The brain is always trying to figure out how to get those things done. Whether you're even thinking of it, you don't even know you're thinking about it. And I remember one year I actually wrote 20 goals down. And I forgot about
20.
it. I threw these goals were in like my drawer, and I found it the next year and I pulled them out, and it was crazy. I accomplished every one of those goals.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah.
And I wasn't even thinking about it. I even forgot I even had the list.
Just
I think,
little, can I just bump in here,
Yeah.
Lawrence? Let me explain to you why that worked. We did this in the
Yeah.
first season. That is the reticular he's using a Wawa cup.
A reticular activating system.
Reticular activating system in your brain. It's in the back of your brain. And when you give it something, I call it the dog with a bone or a stick. When you give it, just by writing those goals down, you've thrown it a stick, and its whole job is to go get the stick and bring it back
Yeah.
to you. And so you are 100% right. That's neuroscience, that the brain is working for you always in the background. So when, the importance of, I'm going to write this stuff down. I mean, that's why people, like in my industry, the therapy and the counseling and all that, love to say, write it down, get your journal. And people think it's just woo-woo stuff. No, there's actual science behind it. Your brain will work for you if you give it the thing to chase.
Yeah.
So 20, that's really impressive, though.
It's a lot of goals.
Well,
I
mean, that was a long time ago. It might have been 10. I just threw a number out there. But the point is that there were goals, and I was impressed that it happened, and I wasn't even aware that it was happening. I would say review your goals, because again, your goals do change. And then I would say dream. Learn to dream. I meet with prisoners on Monday. Young kids from 16 to 19. And oftentimes in my meeting with them, I ask them to dream. What do you really want in life? And, oftentimes a dream is really small. It's just kind of like a very, hey, I just want to be a good person. I'm like, okay, that's good, but let's go beyond that. What do you really want? When you get out of here, who do you want to be? And I'm giving you permission to say something ridiculous. And because I think in our dreams, that really indicates where our heart is. And I think we begin to be engaged in accomplishing some of those dreams. It may not come out exactly the way you want, but I think it's important to dream. And that helps with that original question, like how do you help somebody become unstuck? I give people permission to dream.
I think that right there is a huge takeaway. It's not a concept that we've introduced in what we've talked about before, but it is another key indicator for someone
Yeah.
is, am I stuck? And it's, are you allowed to dream? Are you allowed to say to your company, you know what, I want to reach this far. Like, what if I could reach this far for this in my territory, or set
Yeah.
this size of a goal, or bring in something new. And if you as a dreamer have already identified that as yourself, I know through the work that I've done that sometimes people don't dream, and there's usually some personal growth that they need to do, some positive personal growth. Like they don't want to overstep because they're afraid of failure, or because they've had some experience in the background with a boss that
Yeah.
didn't let them. And sometimes you have to coach people out of that to give them that opportunity, because
Yeah.
we're like, maybe I should add that to problem solver, lifelong learner, dreamer. Just
Lawrence, I think we're going to wrap this up here, but as you're talking, I'm thinking about executive level leadership. And I think the dreaming part is something that they don't do enough, or give themselves permission to do, or are really good at it, because there's the pressures of leadership, there's the pressures of success, there's the pressures of the brand, whatever it is that they put on themselves.
Yeah.
Because now I'm this executive leader in whatever capacity. And to me, I feel like that is the biggest takeaway from this, is you reminding whether, a lower or entry level, mid-level worker, the importance of dreaming, because that helps you know whether, get you connected to your. But Lawrence, you've really brought something that I wasn't sure. I didn't know was going to come out of this, but the importance for the executive branch to bring that dreaming into their leadership and what they're doing. And I
Yeah.
think that, you demonstrate that really well, because you are a visionary for sure.
Yeah.
And
Well, but I would just like to say, not all visionaries are as grounded as Lawrence, because all the stories I know is you are solving people's needs. You're meeting their problems. Like we've talked about the ones we knew that you had in college. You saw a need and you figured out how to fill it. And it was not, I need ColourPop shimmery eye mascara or eyeshadow, right? Because I do need that. But I don't really need that. You were much more practical of, people need Christmas trees, people need carpet, people need, like, these different things that you were doing, or acknowledging and seeing people. I think one of the things that I'm impressed with you is that you are seeing people. Sometimes visionaries get caught up in this dream world that's not practical.
Right.
So you have this component of seeing people and their need and figuring out a way
Yeah.
to meet that.
Yeah, unfortunately, sometimes dreams do seem impractical at times. Like for example, Nikola Tesla. He really developed the AC, alternating current.
Mm-hmm.
But when he was a kid, he dreamed. He had these amazing dreams. Like he dreamt. This was like the turn of the century, like 1901. He was dreaming of wireless communication. And then that's how we got started. So he believed something like that existed, and then it actually became a reality, which is really wild. So I'm going to say this. There's also an element of fear, and I think sometimes that holds people back. And identifying the fear and being willing to step into the unknown is really, it's scary, but I think it could be really rewarding. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be successful, but stepping into the unknown oftentimes, gives us great breakthroughs in what we're trying to accomplish within our company. Yeah, that's it. I wanted to say this, a couple things, because I know you're wrapping it up. Three things. Life is a gift. Be grateful for what you have, and what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? They're the three things I'll leave you guys with.
On that last one, Lawrence, I really appreciate that earlier you said that's part of my purpose and why, you're driven and to do the things you're doing. And you said, like, doesn't mean it has to have my name attached to it. It just, I think, I'd love to hear you kind of expound on that just a little bit more.
Yeah.
But oftentimes, I think that's what people think is legacy means your name is attached to something. I think we go to like statues and things that have, a building that has their name on it. What gives some like grounding to that? Because I think that's incredibly important. I think about legacy for myself, but I think of what am I leaving behind as far as the work that I'm doing?
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. So I think a lot of times when I was younger, maybe I was more motivated by, I want East Coast sales. The legacy I want to leave behind is East Coast sales will be the best marketing company ever that the world has ever seen. And it'll say East Coast sales. Everybody will know it, But now it's, maybe it's a life changing a life. If I can help somebody be unstuck or become the best version of themselves, that doesn't have my name on it. That doesn't have East Coast attached to it. That means that guy, whoever it is, guy, girl, whoever it is, becomes the best version of themselves, and they are able to use the giftedness that they have to then impact somebody else's life. And a life changing a life will change a life. It'll
right.
continue. And that ripple effect goes around the world. Whether you like it or not, it happens anyway. Everything that we do, everything, even our discussion with the person behind the cash register at Wawa, that has a ripple effect. Whatever comes out of your mouth, the way you interacted with them, somehow has some type of impact in their life. And it doesn't have your name on it, whether that's good or bad. So that's what I care about. Not that my name lasts forever, because my name won't, shortly after I'm dead, people, within a few years, they might remember me a couple times, but really my name or what I've done isn't even mentioned. But maybe if I impacted somebody's life, that lasts, because then that's going to impact, that's going to continue to go from generation to generation. And that's motivates me more than anything else.
Lawrence, thank you for being with us and being our first guest on the Healthy Hurried Human podcast. I don't know. I kind of think you might be a little legendary. I know he's legendary with my kids. So thanks for being here. Thanks. The shout out to Wawa. For those who don't know, it's the best convenience store in the country. I actually think they earned that.
Hey,
but thank
they
you
might
for being with us.
send you some sponsor money.
Yeah,
Michelle,
right.
He is the biggest Wawa fan I know.
Yes.
It's so funny.
Thank you for being here. This was really great. We're probably going to keep talking about you after this, because as you were talking, I'm like, I just thought of like 5 more Lawrence stories.
Yeah.
So huge influence in my life. Katherine says it's great that we should have our heroes on the podcast, and we get to do that. You're definitely one of mine. Yeah. So thank you for coming on and taking the time.
Hey, thanks.
We
I
do
feel
appreciate
honored.
it.
I'm excited about how this will develop for you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, I do have to say, Lawrence, if you haven't listened, so season 1 just ended, and the last episode is where Lawrence Carnuccio comes up. I don't know if you've heard it, but for our listeners, now there's a face and there's a voice and some stories from episode 12 talking about Lawrence, and now here you are on 2. So we're just putting that together.
I have to go listen to it.
All right. Take care,
Thanks,
Lawrence.
Michelle.
It's great
All
to
right,
see you
take
again.
care, guys.
The Healthy Hurried Human podcast is presented by Foxygen Consulting. At Foxygen, we provide business and performance psychology and consulting. We believe healthier people make a healthier workplace. Foxygen Consulting, breathing new life into your organization.